Should be okay. We are live. We are live. All right. All right. Welcome everyone jumping on. I'm going to give you a few minutes to jump on, and I just want to thank you for being here on a beautiful. Well, it's actually a beautiful evening where I am in upstate. My name's Peg Tucker, and I'm joining you from Plattsburgh, New York. And I have the privilege and pleasure of having a friend of mine, Reverend Kasey Corbin, on tonight. I'm very, very excited. Incredibly, his energy is through the roof. So buckle up. This is, I had an interview last week with another friend of ours, Lisa G, and Lisa talked about raising vibrations, and I said, you know what? That's for 2021. I'm going to call my broadcast "Raising Vibrations." So yeah. We just it came up in conversation. It's like I like that. That's a good title. So that's what we're here for tonight. So Kasey, I would love to turn it over to you if you would tell us a little bit about who you are, what your story, is, and what it is that you do.
Absolutely, Peg. Thank you so much for having me here with you this evening. And it is such an honor and an opportunity for me to be here and to share my story, to
You
share
just,
some thoughts, and with your viewing and listening audience. I am Reverend Kasey of Moving Mountains Motivation, where we help people build better lives from the inside out. Moving Mountains Motivation, what inspired that name was a passage out of Mark's Gospel, chapter 11, verse 23, where the master teacher said, "Whosoever shall say to this mountain, be removed and be cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he says shall come to pass, he shall have whatever he says." And for most of my life, I was suffering with limiting beliefs controlling my life and blocking the use of my infinite potential, which I love to impress upon my followers and the people who listened, the people who watch me, those who book me for different and varying audiences, that you have infinite potential, not only the potential to be, do, and have, but the infinite potential to be more, do more, and have more. And it was through that passage where I learned that I could move things out of my way. Now, at the time, I didn't know exactly what those things were because I was taking it to be something literal. But later, I found out that limiting beliefs were blocking me from being whatever I wanted to be, doing whatever I wanted to do, and from having whatever I wanted to have. Just simply stated, a belief is something that you accept, a thought or an idea that you accept to be true, positive or negative. And most of my thoughts and ideas were negative, which was really blocking me from living a healthy, wealthy, happy experience. And so I came up with Moving Mountains Enterprises at first, and then later it became Moving Mountains Motivation. And I believe that it is through motivation, inspiration, and by engaging and embracing the powerful process of personal transformation that you can be anything you want to be. And so that's what I do as a motivational speaker. I have a motivational speaking firm. I am an author. I write courses, one that I have just written called The Rich and Unlimited Root of My Being, Affirmative Truths for Attracting Unlimited Money. That course is all about money conditioning, conditioning your mind for money. As a baseball player has to condition himself. Tennis players have to condition themselves. Football players have to condition themselves. Whatever we want to be, to do, or to have in life, it comes from conditioning. And as my mentor says, from qualifying ourselves for that, whatever that is. And so that's a little bit about me. How I got started, Peg, as a motivational
That was
speaker
my next
about,
question.
yeah, about 25 years ago, I was in a slump. I was living a be nothing, do nothing, have nothing experience. My life wasn't going anywhere very fast. I mean, very fast. And it was moving very
Mm.
slow, which made my life very miserable. I became an addict of drugs and alcohol, and
Mhm.
I suffered from that disease. And I made a series of unhealthy choices in my life, one of which was the inspiration for me to change. 25 years ago, an incident happened with my 6-month old daughter. Now, before I tell you what that was, as an addict of alcohol and drugs, I had these periods in my life when I was getting high, when I was using. I would have blinkouts. I would just have, and I still can't explain it today. I better understand what was happening during that time, up to this time now, as I began to study about addiction and as I began to study about the physiology and some of the things that can happen to people who are addicts and who are users. I had these blankouts, periods where I don't know anything, just unconscious, not times where I passed out. And people had to tell me about events when I was out of it. People had to tell me about things that I did. I had absolutely no conscious awareness during those times. One of which is when I was at my place, I was using, and I had a friend over with me, and we were using. My drug of choice at the time was cocaine and marijuana and acid. Don't ask me why. Why I was doing that stuff. But anyway, I was. And
It felt right at the time, right? It probably had a lot to do with who you were associating with too, right?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely had a lot to do with that. And assimilation by association, you know.
Yeah.
And so I became like my company that I was keeping.
Mm-hmm.
So during this incident, I don't remember much, but my 6-month-old daughter was hurt while she was in my possession. Physically, her arm was fractured and her leg was fractured.
Oh,
I have taken 100% ownership of that. I own that. That's my stuff.
mm-hmm.
I do know that her mom and I had just had a domestic squabble. We weren't living together, but we had just had a domestic dispute. And I took my daughter from her, closed my door, and the guy that was in there with me, I took my daughter to the bedroom, put her on the bed. That was it. That's all I can remember. I finally let my daughter's mom back in to get my daughter after my friend said, "Man, you probably need to let her in." And so he and I wound up, I think, having it out. But eventually, I let her back in, and she came in. She got my daughter, and the next day, that's when I found out what had happened.
Wow.
And now that I'm sober, I started thinking like, what? And when my daughter's mom came to me, she was like, Amber, that's my daughter's name, Amber. And Amber and I have a beautiful relationship today, by the way. My daughter loves me and I love her. And the most important thing is that she's forgiven me for that, which happened 25 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
that melts my heart and that makes me feel so good. And just when I found out what happened, it hit me immediately. But as time went on, I'm like, you know, I probably did it, and it probably was me. And but how and what happened?
Oh.
Anyway, I took ownership. I owned it, and I I had to pay for it, for that. And I got in trouble with the law behind it, and I went to prison behind it. And I knew that my life had to change.
Mm.
And so that's where it all began 25 years ago. And I've been clean for 25 years, going on 26 years. I haven't touched a drug or alcohol, and being sober, clean thinking.
Hmm.
And the song, I can see clearly now. The rain is
Yeah.
gone, and
Being clear thinking is
so
somewhat addictive
yeah,
too, right?
yeah, it is.
I, it is. I
It is.
want to thank you. I want to thank you, and I'm just gonna. I just want to add to that, for being so vulnerable. And I don't
Yes.
often talk about this, but when you know, years back when my kids were in their teens, I had gotten into the habit of numbing myself with alcohol, and um, just kind of tamping down anxiety that I lived with all my life. And
Mm,
and I could see that, by the grace of God, Kasey, I could see that I was going down a bad path, and I didn't lose things. I didn't
mm,
lose my family,
yes.
my home, and and I haven't had a drink in, well, it's been almost 5.5, well, a little over 5 years. Um, but so yeah, yeah. And that's how I can totally attest to the fact that being clear thinking is amazing.
It's
When I
amazing.
when I'm when I'm with people who aren't, I feel like so lucky that that I'm clear headed, and it's a little bit addictive in itself. If
It
you
is.
know if you if you know you have an addictive personality, it's like being on top of things is really cool.
It's cool. It is so cool. Yeah.
So, but there are times when I look back. Our daughter was here visiting us, and she just left the other day, and we talked about things from her childhood, and I thought to myself, I wish I was more clear headed then.
Mm.
I mean, I wasn't falling down, but
Mhm.
I was still, you have a couple glasses of wine and you're numbed.
Right. Right.
You're not clear. You're not completely 100% present
Right.
by any
Ab-
means. Um,
Absolutely.
s- yeah. So, but like I say, but by the grace of God, I realized this is not heading in a good direction.
Mm.
And
Yes.
it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to say I'm not going to do that anymore. Not it wasn't. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done. But anyway, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know where this conversation was going tonight, so this is kind of fun.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I
So
have found. Oh, go
where
ahead, Peg.
at what point did you go from discovering these things for yourself to, I need to help other people with this, because this is what really interests me too. I really, I love when I learn something, I'm always thinking about how can this help other people. And you have really, you know, made excellent use of that. So tell us
Yes.
about that.
Yes. A part of my motto is I love to help people help themselves through motivation, inspiration, and by encouraging them to embrace and engage the powerful process of personal transformation. It was through motivation, inspiration, and transformation that I was able to change my experience. I was able to change my mindset. As our mentor says, his one of his favorite passages is, do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And Peg, I began to think, people are there out there who are in the same state that I was in, who's hurting like I was hurting, or who's hurting someone else like I hurt someone. Who, how many people out there who are addicts and want to be clean but don't know where to begin or how to start, or hasn't open themselves up to life's bumps and bruises and knocks upside of the head and running into the wall continuously. How many people are there out there who are seeking change,
Mm.
have no assistance, no one to help them,
or don't think it's possible,
or don't even think it's possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what moved me into becoming a motivator. That's what moved me into becoming a teacher. And that's what moved me into becoming a great preacher. I wanted to help people to be able to help themselves. And I found something called self-help. When I found self-help, and when I found personal development, by the way, I'm also a personal development coach. I help people, groups, and I love one-on-ones more than I do groups, but I do groups as well. I thought, man, how many people could use this? Mm-hmm. How many people could use these success principles that I use? How many people could use learning natural law, universal laws like I used to change my life? How many people could benefit from shifting their consciousness or increasing their awareness or being transformed by renewing their mind? And I got interested, and I really struck an interest with people who were incarcerated and those who are on the verge and transitioning a re-entry back into society. And so my heart was like, I want to help people get out and stay out. I want to help people manage their freedom. I want to help those who are on their way out, manage their to return to the system again. Yeah. And so that's how I got started with this. And the thing that helped me, the key that I found was my state of mind. I developed the state of mind, Peg, and I still have this state of mind, and I will not give it up for anyone or anything. I developed the state of mind whereby which I was able to walk out of addiction. I developed the state of mind which gave me the power to free myself and liberate myself by the grace of God. I want to add that in. And I was able to use the mind to victim or victor, the secret to overcoming addiction. I was able to use that state of mind to walk away from being a volunteer victim to being a victor by choice. Mm-hmm. I wanted to help other people. I really wanted to help other people. And that's how I got started. I did. Yeah. I walked into a center in Savannah, Georgia called it's a 5-star gospel rescue mission called the Old Savannah City Mission. And I went in with the intention, will you let me come in and speak?
Wow.
Yeah. And they gave me an opportunity. They did. Wow. And I went for it. I went for it.
Yeah. You saw an open door, that's amazing. And being of service. I mean, that's the road to greatness, being of service to many, right?
Yes. Being of service to many. I'm like, man, look, I just want to help somebody. I just want to help. If I can help anybody, just to change their lives or to turn things around, just to shift, And I learned that it all begins within. And so that's why I say, helping people to build a better life from the inside out.
Yeah.
If you never.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing your story because, it's great to see you now, but it makes so much sense to someone to see where you came from.
Yes.
And what you found, personal development and self-help, and where you are now.
Yes. The keystones, they're keystones, self-help, personal development. I'm so grateful to so many people who've gone before me in those fields. And I have become better for them and for what they have left behind. People like Napoleon Hill. I remember reading his book. That was the first book I got my hands on in self-help, personal development. And a guy who was mentoring me at the time, he challenged me to read the book. And I accepted the challenge. But I soon became disheartened, Peg, because I couldn't read the book. I didn't have the vocabulary to read the book. And it was difficult. It was hard. And I was so disheartened, and it became so discouraging. I wanted to quit. But I was the accountability. He was my accountability partner. And so when he asked me about the book, I knew he was going to ask me. I just didn't know when. And I was hoping he wouldn't. I hope he would forget about it because I couldn't read it. And he asked me, and I'm like, how's the reading going? And I said, it's not. He said, why? I said, I can't read it. He said, why? I said, I don't understand it. And so that's when he asked me, just a question. Out of the blue, he said, Kasey, what's man's best friend? I said, I answered the question of dog. He said, no, a dictionary. He said, pick the book back up, get you a dictionary, and read the book. When you come to a word that you do not understand, stop, look it up, and do not continue to read until you understand what that word means in context. Peg, it took me 6 months to read that book, but I am glad I did.
Yeah. That's wow. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
I would love to ask you, what are the 3 top books that you can think of that you would recommend that you've read recently?
Oh, recently. Oh, okay. Number 1 would be, and this book I've read over and over and over and over and over and over. I can't even remember how many times I've read this book. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That's number 1.
I'm going to put these in the comments.
Okay. The second book would be, and I can see the book, The Message of a Master by John McDonnell, I want to say. If that's not the correct name of the author, The Message of a Master is the name of the book. Powerful.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that book has done so much for me. The third book, and you said recently, the third book would be, I think I've read so many, but one that I would recommend would be Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. That book is all about your self-image.
Wow. I have not heard of any of these 3. This is awesome.
Yeah, you definitely want to read that. Maxwell Maltz was a psychiatrist. And I'm sorry, a plastic surgeon.
Wow.
Yes, a plastic surgeon. And he found that it wasn't the outer image that is important. Because in the book, he talks about a female that he made become beautiful. Her outer appearance, he changed her outer appearance, she became beautiful. But she was still suffering from an ugly inner image of herself. The self-image that she had of herself was ugly. And so her life was like, she was really depressed. He was like, what's wrong? You're beautiful. And he found out later what the problem was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet he sees a lot of that. You see so many people getting plastic surgery, cosmetic surgery, and then they get another one and another one and
Yes.
another one.
Yeah.
And soon they don't look like anyone that you see. I mean, you can
True.
see.
True. So true. So true.
It becomes addictive because because that's not what they need. That's not the source of their pain.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that sounds
Mm-hmm.
really good. Well,
Yeah.
listen, I want to keep this brief, Kasey. If there's anything you'd like to, I do want to put up here, how people can how people can find you. So there's your show at 6:30 a.m. Eastern,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And then I've got going across the bottom your website, kaseycorbin.com. So
Awesome.
these are the best ways for people to find you?
Yes. Facebook. They can find me on Facebook. Kasey Corbin in parentheses, Reverend Kasey. I am also on Instagram, Mountain Moving Motivation. And also on Sundays, I have Reverend Kasey's book club where I share motivational and inspirational classics every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Reverend Kasey's book club. And right now we're working with a book called Working with the Law by Raymond Halliwell. That's a motivational spiritual classic.
Yes.
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 And I love reading, by the way, Peg. I have become an avid reader, and my testimony is reading saved my life. It saved me from drugs. It saved me from alcohol. It saved me from the streets. It saved me from the underworld. And I was really able to transform my life through reading. Yes.
Very, very good. Such a good message. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kasey.
you.
I'm so glad that we've been connected, and so glad to share your message here and expose more people to your message. So thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for jumping on. If you know anyone that can benefit from this, if you got some value out of this, please share it, and have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Thank you.